Hello and welcome to ET Garage. I'm Eugene Tordo. I want to thank everybody that's subscribed so far. I'm getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. And today's video is going to be about amateur welding. I am the amateurist of amateur welders. And I'm self-taught. I learned pretty much welding from reading and watching YouTube videos of professional welders. Hopefully a professional welder will watch this and give tips and tricks of what to do. But basically this is going to be about welding really thick metal with a at-home MIG welder or flux core welder. Most people have flux core. They don't pop, if they're at home, they just have the flux core and they don't pop for the gas. If you don't have the gas bottle, it's not a MIG welder, it's a flux core welder. I have a little MIG 135 Eastwood 135, and it works great. As far as I've had it for years, it works great. If I could afford it, I'd upgrade to something even better. But that's what I have. I do a lot of 304 stainless with it, like on my exhaust and stuff. That was the main reason I bought it. But anyway, today I'm going to cut this up in a couple small pieces and show you how I weld real thick metal with a little MIG 135. I don't even know how thick this is. I'm going to have to measure it. But it's more than 1/4 of an inch, I'll tell you that. So this is pretty thick stuff. And it's old and it's rusty. And the one thing I think people don't understand when they weld is, like take this piece of metal here. This is actually 304 stainless, but you see this surface on here? That's from the manufacturing process. I forgot what the technical name is that, but else new metal will have this like surface on here from the process of the manufacturing process of making the metal. That has to be removed. I was watching Diablo Formula Racing. He's one of my favorite YouTube channels, and he tried welding a bracket. He just did a real quick, dirty job trying to weld it. It didn't weld, and he had brand new metal brackets for, I think it was for a bumper or a lift or something. I forgot what it is, but I'll try and leave a link to the video. And I think he knows what to do. He was just goofing off, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. And he didn't clean this metal. He just put the two pieces of metal together, fired up his welder, and tried putting a bead on it. And, of course, it didn't take. This rusty piece of metal, I really got to do a lot of work to get the surface prepped. It's sort of like painting. The more prep you put into your surface, the better your paint job's going to come out. I'm not a painter. I hate painting. But anyway, another thing I should point out is your welding wire. If you have a spool of welding wire that's been sitting around for a long time, like I was welding my snowblower blades, and I couldn't get a good weld at all. And that was with the flux core wire. And it's because, as far as I can tell, it's because the flux core wire was so old. It's just been sitting so long, and I think what happens is it oxidizes. Someone correct me or something like that, and it just doesn't work well. Right now, the only flux core welder I have is 308L. So that's what I'm going to use. That's really not the right kind to use for this kind of steel, but it actually works real good, and stainless steel doesn't like oxidize like regular steel, rust or oxidize like regular steel. So that's one good thing about it. Hopefully it'll last a long time. I don't know, anyone has experience with that? Let me know. So anyway, I'm going to cut this sucker up into a couple of small pieces. I'm not decided how big yet, and I'll get exact measurement of the thickness and everything. And get to work on this. This actually cuts pretty quick. You use a, let me see if I can get it here. Just use a Harbor Freight saw blade and a good quality metal cutting blade, like these Diablo blades. This one, the paint surface is all wore out, but these suckers work great. I should have a couple of these around somewhere. And I always use cutting oil on them too to lubricate the blade. That helps a lot too. But let me get to work. I always use protection, gloves. I got a nice face shield. You can get some pretty good stuff, Harbor Freight, or even Harbor Freight, that's not the greatest stuff. They're, when it comes to safety, you're better off with a cheap face shield than no face shield, especially when it comes to grinding. I also run, let's see if I can show you here. my little, I have this old air filtration system here. It's barely working. There it goes. And that helps with the dust, especially when working in my basement. And when I run the flux core, I gotta open up the windows and get fan circulating. It's better to have one of those ducts that go right over it. I don't like using flux core in the basement, but I don't want to use up my gas bottles either because that's expensive. That's Trimix for 30 to be used with 304 stainless that I weld sometimes. Let me get back, stop talking, and get to work. I got my first cut done, and I don't know if you can see that, but I used a little square there and used that to make a nice straight cut, or about as straight as I can get it. I'm going to make a cut this way. I'll probably do the same thing. You can use a piece of angle iron or whatever and use it the same method. Just clamp it down and use that as a straight edge for cutting. Well, let me get the rest of it cut. Okay, I'm done cutting these. I kind of messed up this edge here a little bit, but it's no biggie for what I'm going to do. They're going to, hopefully you can see that. I'm going to put them together like that and weld at a 90 degree. And before I do that, of course, I need to clean up these surfaces. There's two ways to clean these surfaces up. One's chemically, you know, you can use like a degreaser to get the oil off and then soak them in like Evapo Rust or vinegar. I like vinegar better. The only bad thing about vinegar is it takes a lot longer, so you're going to have to let it sit overnight or a couple of days. For this purpose, I'm just going to try and probably grind it. And the best way to grind it is with one of these and a flat wheel. Yeah, a good 90 degree grinder and a flat wheel. You can use a grinding wheel. Biggest mistake people make with these grinding wheels is they grind on this surface here like this. These are not designed to do that. They're designed to work that way on this edge. So keep that in mind, and that's where a flat wheel is a lot better. Now with that Sawzall, I didn't really need a safety shield. Whenever using one of these, you definitely need a safety shield. It creates a lot of dust. I should probably wear a dust mask too. Now let me get on cleaning this up, I guess. And also get a measurement on the thickness of this too. I forgot what thickness is, but I'll get it for you. Okay, hopefully you can see that surface I got all ground up, and you can still see a lot of pitting in there unless I sit there and grind and grind and grind. I'm gonna have to remove a lot of surface, so I'm gonna chemically remove that pitting in there, because that pitting in there is going to cause a lot of problem when I weld. Will cause all sorts of contamination. I'm going to use this stuff. I get this at the Dollar Tree store for $1. And I think in January it'll be $1.25 or something like that. This stuff, the first time I'm using it for this type of application. I haven't used it to use rust and lime, and it works really good. I should probably wear gloves with this stuff, but I'm gonna let it soak. You can see the metal's hot from grinding yet. Smoke coming off. At least maybe you can see that. And just let that soak for a little bit. Okay, I said I was going to measure the metal, so let's measure it. It is About 455 thousandths or 50 thousandths. So it's just under half an inch thick. That's pretty thick stuff. And I did chemically clean this. I should have probably let it soak for a while longer, but for the purpose of this video, this pitting is still going to cause problems when I weld it, contamination problems. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to worry about it. Now it is wet from the water. I am going to heat this with a torch. One of the things when you weld with an undersized welder is to heat your metal with a torch. You don't need to heat it real hot. You only need to get it about 100 degrees. That's it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be using my, like I said, my Eastwood MiG 135, and I'm going to be using flux core. I only have 308L flux core, but for the purpose of this video, that'll work, or at least I think it will. Let me set the camera up in a better position for the welding, and I'll heat this up and weld it. Okay, hopefully you can see this. I got set up. I got magnets holding at a 90-degree angle, and it's all dried off, and could be a little hotter. Like I said, you only need to heat it to 100 degrees. Maybe I'll heat it a little bit more, and then we'll get welding. Okay, it's cooled down and I can handle it by... Yep, it broke. I thought for sure this was going to hold, but it didn't. It broke. That's pretty sad, actually. So, you can see where the weld was hot enough to grab here on this piece of metal, and it did not get hot enough to melt into that piece. That's my fault, and partly the fact that I don't have a hot enough welder. But if you look at the metal, you can see where it turned blue here. That was hot enough. This didn't turn color at all, so this wasn't getting any heat at all. All I can do is grind this all down and make another attempt. So I'll do that, and we'll see what happens. Okay, this will be attempt number 3 so far. The first 2 attempts failed. I had to regrind everything, which is time consuming, and I heated this up a lot more this time. So I'm going to, and I switched the MIG welder from flux core to MIG, which I don't really have the right wire. I have 035 wire that's made to work with inert gas. I don't really have the correct gas. This is tri-mix, but that'll work for what I'm doing. And I just want to see if I can successfully weld these 2 really thick pieces of metal together with a small undersized welder. Really need a bigger welder for this. We're going to give it our best shot again. Here we go, I guess. Okay, I could tell just by the sound that this is a lot better. So I don't know if I'm having a problem with that other wire. Like I said, that was the wrong wire for this. Just looking at that, that's just so much better. I need to turn up my speed a little bit. Right about there. sucker back down. Here we go. Okay, still not happy with that. Yeah, that's not right. It's not right with the feed. Not too fast. It's definitely a lot better weld. I don't know if you can see it. And it looks like it's penetrating both pieces of metal. Still not perfect. Far from it, but it's definitely a lot better. Yeah, still not ideal, but the hell lot better. It feeds a lot better. My weld penetration's a lot better. Like I said, I am certainly not a professional welder, and this isn't, even though it's better, it's still a terrible weld. Hopefully you guys can see that. Like I said, the other two attempts were a complete failure. I had to do a lot of grinding. That is super hot. So let me take and cool this off, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back, and like I said, you can see it's pretty terrible weld. It definitely got better penetration. I can tell that just by looking at it. Not fantastic. Okay, before the other time, as soon as I hit it, it broke right off. I'm not showing any signs of cracking. I mean, the correct way would be to put this in a vise, obviously. Let me get some more light on that. You can see I was able to get good penetration. If you look, hopefully you guys can see this real good. My lighting's not that great. If you look like right there, that's probably the better part of the weld. If I was actually going to use this for something, I have no plans for this other than the making of this video. Like I said, I hope professional welders chime in, but once I switched to the right wire, if I would have had the right flux core wire, I probably would have got a really good weld the first time. If you look at the settings in the Eastwood, let me take you over there. Turn this off so you can hear that in the background. And hopefully, let me get this off of here. I've got my gloves on. If you look at the settings, the high when using gas, this MIG welder recommends 030 solid steel wire, and it only goes up to 12 gauge or 105 thousandths of an inch. To go to a thicker metal up to 5/16, which is rated, you need to use 035 flux core. Now, because I don't have the right flux core wire, like I said, if I had the right flux core wire, I probably would have got a better weld. I'm actually using a setting that this isn't designed for. And it did weld it good, so I still think you can with practice and whatnot, you can get good welds. Certainly better than this. But what's important is that it's strong enough. Now, if I was going to use this for something structural, I'd grind that down. And I still might do it just for practice. Because it's always good to get practice welding. And I would probably also weld the backside, but I have no intention of doing that. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it just for the purpose of this. Just for practice, like I said. I do enjoy welding when I have a chance. Problem is I don't have too many projects with welding. And you gotta use materials. I try and use junk that I have laying around. This steel that I inherited from my, actually, I either inherited this from my dad or this was laying around on this property when I bought it back in 2005. I can't remember. But I inherited a lot of metal pieces from my dad and stuff that I just picked up over the years myself. And like I said, there were some big pieces of metal laying around when I bought this place. So I'm going to end the video right here. I probably still will grind that up just for more practice and just for the sake of doing that. But I hope this was helpful. It does show you can use an undersized welder to weld thick metal. You just gotta, it's like everything, practice and whatnot, and do a better job than I do. You know, cleaner. Try and be cleaner and neater in your areas than I am. I'm always a mess. I really need to clean everything up. I am going to do another welding project. It's going to be called Modifying the Harbor Freight Welding Table. And as you can see, it shakes all over because the feet keep falling off. And that's one of the things I'm going to modify. That'll be another video. I don't get too many videos for these shop videos, but I enjoy doing them. So hopefully this one will get some views and some input. I really would like to get the input down in the comment section of the YouTube videos to help me and others that watch this stuff. There are probably better videos out there. Definitely better videos out there on welding. Go to Weld.com. That's where I get a lot of my advice from. I don't necessarily follow it, or it would be great to spend hands-on time with somebody and with a professional welder, and that would probably help me a lot. But like I said, I'm ending this video here. I'm not going to just keep rambling on. I hope everybody has a great day, and God bless.